Hey everybody, Christo, your mining coach, and I am very, very excited. I'm having a good friend of mine. It's really this time round. I've known Calvin Cloete for a while, and he is a very close friend of mine. We've we know them as a family. Him and his wife, two amazing parents, two wonderful boys. And I've had the privilege of just getting to know Calvin at a much deeper level. And we know why we do this podcast. It's across the spectrum of mining, of all the disciplines in mining. And today I'm privileged because Calvin is in a very different discipline that we've been covering so far. He is in the laboratory, the smelting, call it the post-processing after mining type environment. And he is making such a big difference. Calvin, good morning. How are you? Welcome.
Good morning, Christo. No, I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Privileged to be able to share my story. And yeah, happy to be here. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for your time. And for our listeners, I'm going to jump straight in. And those watching on YouTube, Calvin, just tell us a little bit about who's Calvin Cloete and your career up to this point.
Yes. Yeah. So Calvin Cloete is a middle child of three. Actually born in Keetmanshoop, in Namibia. Actually raised there, lived in South Africa for some time. Actually grew up there. Actually started my mining career actually in Scorpion Zinc in Namibia as a lab operator. So I actually started off as a lab operator. Actually started, starting from the, grassroots. Actually worked myself through the ranks. Actually got engaged to met this beautiful woman. They just captured me with the moment I saw her. Like, yeah, this is the one. And we got married. Actually finished my studies with as a BSc chemistry that I actually finished. And then we actually got married. We have two beautiful sons, eldest being Zion, 13 years old, and my youngest being 7, Noah Cloete. Yeah, as talkative and as energetic as myself. So yeah, so I actually started off as a lab operator within the mining sector. Obviously learned a lot. Learned throughout the years, especially at the time when Scorpion Zinc was actually, was operating and was running. Actually, the time when we started was from commissioning, right through the whole until full production, So it actually was a good learning curve for me to actually grow through the ranks and actually see the progression within the laboratory space and actually, developing methods, getting there and that type of thing. So after a couple of years, I obviously was promoted to a development supervisor. And after that, actually, after for a couple of years, moved over to the quality space. So actually started doing the quality management system of the laboratory. We actually, was quite, chuffed with the fact that we actually achieved 17025 accreditation status for the mine. So obviously all our analytical technique with regards to the final metal was accredited. And I was actually the first one of the first people that actually started, got the accreditation in 2008.
Wow.
So a long journey, lots of hard work, lots of sleepless nights, lots of issues, with assessors and challenges and. But through it all, we actually grew through it, and after a few years, I actually started looking after the final metal analysis, being the section owner of that. Obviously, being the technical signatory, approved technical signatory by SANAS, in that space. So yeah, I learned a lot through it, about method development, all these type of things. Grew through the ranks, as I said. And then the opportunity came to actually, get into an acting space as laboratory manager. And obviously took the opportunity, after how many years? After about 15 years of,
Yeah.
just
Long time.
diligently, just, following the, growing through the ranks and learning. And now what I say is it wasn't an overnight journey. Lots of times people think that, I graduate today and tomorrow I need to be a manager and that type of thing.
Yes.
Sadly, not true. But yeah, so obviously I then was appointed as the lab manager at Scorpion Zinc in 2015, 2017. After that, after about a year, 2 years at Scorpion, I then got the opportunity to move to a different international organization. Then I moved over to South Africa, and yeah, I've actually started this lab. When I always joke, when I walked into this lab, it was I could still smell the paint. So so very new, very starting off from scratch. There was a couple of things already in place. They were operational for about a year, but obviously there was still a lot of growing pain. Building up and growing, getting the lab to full production, and actually value adding towards the business, to the whole value system. So yes, started off with that, and currently, at this international lab, still being lab manager, having about 15 people reporting towards me, and yeah, that's in a nutshell my career. And now I actually grew and actually got to the point where I am now. Yeah, so
Wow.
that's Calvin.
Oh, well, a very impressive story, Calvin. And yeah, people take it for granted that, you arrive and you're one day the lab manager of a massive, you haven't mentioned how big it is. And, it is a massive operation that you are in charge of, and the responsibility that goes with that.
Yeah,
You chose a few topics, and I'm very excited about what we're going to discuss today. We're going to talk about teamwork, and I think a lot of what you're doing in your current role and what we do as leaders is about teamwork. And we talk about developing ourselves and developing others. And this journey that you've just taken us through has a lot to do with developing yourself. And maybe just why did you choose these topics? And let's start with whichever one you choose. Let's start with developing yourself. I think that's really the good start.
Yeah. I think, Christo, you know what, the one that I always, the thing that really, that I've realized is, you need to make the time and investment in yourself to be able to give to others. I'm a very, very people's person. I love people. I love, investing in people, giving, adding value to people, and just giving back to people, because of the fact that, I like what John Maxwell says. He says one is too small of a number to make a difference.
Wow. Yes.
And you can't give if you don't have. So I actually realized that I need to invest in myself and start with myself, with the man in the mirror. So with me investing in myself and growing myself, and through my career, I obviously didn't study. I actually went to varsity and dropped out, and then I had to do the long road, distance learning, that type of thing. So obviously that involves a lot of.
It sounds very familiar.
So that involves a lot of personal self investment in it, and actually taking the time and realizing that it's about the effort of today that actually gives the reward of the invested benefit thereof, and reaping the dividends, to say it that way.
Yeah.
So yes, so that's the reason why I chose this. I think it starts with me. It's unfortunate that that you can't give what you don't have, as I said. Okay. And yeah, so it starts with me. I need to be willing to invest in myself, and actually get that through to people. Yeah, that's the reason why I chose it.
And a lot of that was while having a family, having kids, raising kids, being in a relationship with your partner. And if you were to advise somebody that's at that point to say, look, am I going to start this distance learning or not? You know, it's a big sacrifice. Should I do it? What's your advice to them?
I think a very important thing is, especially when you have a partner or when you have a wife, I think to be quite aligned. Alignment, I think, is crucial. Is absolutely vital in that process to actually get that conversation where the two of you actually agree. That, you know what, there's sometimes that daddy is not going to be available, and that the hubby is not going to be available because of certain sacrifices.
Yes.
Unfortunately. And that's unfortunately, I think, the starting point of for any, young person or anyone that actually wants to continue, follow that longer route of success, to say it that way, is to have the conversation, to have quite good alignment with your partner. I think that is a good starting point, so that she can see the bigger picture in it. Obviously, if she doesn't, she thinks that, oh, this is just a waste, and she doesn't support you in it,
Yeah.
it's quite a challenge. It's really, really a challenge. I actually want to share something with you. Recently, I actually did a mini MBA, and I knew it's going to be, it's a bit of a tasting to see, do I really want to go the MBA route, blah blah.
Yes.
And it was, I like what was someone actually said one day, with regards to an MBA. He said it's like trying to drink water from a fire hydrant. So it's a lot of work, and I think you can attest, Christo.
Yes. Yes, it is a lot of work.
There's a lot of work that you need to try and cover within a set period of time, and it was really, really challenging. Lots of research that you need to do. And at that point in time, I mean, I just started at this new lab, building methods, building systems, trying to get all of that up to a certain standard, and to try and juggle that along with, partner, family, that type of thing,
Yes.
actually required me to first have the conversation,
Yes.
and tell my wife, this is the bigger picture. And it actually required me sometimes to wake up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, to actually start doing assignments, submit assignments, go back to work. So there's besides the conversation, there's a lot of commitment and hard work that actually goes in hand with that. So I think that the two things that I would share to someone that that might be looking at this way of this approach, is to say, have the conversation, have the honest conversation,
Yeah.
get alignment with your partner, that she sees the bigger picture and the vision, that the family as a collective have towards where you guys are on to, the journey that you're on to. And then I think the third thing, very importantly, is prioritize and work extremely hard. It requires it, unfortunately. I like a quote that says, "Make hard work your weapon, and success will be your slave." And that's absolutely true. You don't put in the time, you don't put in the effort, unfortunately, it's not going to be that well. So those are the three things that I would advise someone. Yeah.
Those are wonderful tips for those that are venturing out on this. And I can just agree with that. It was exactly my journey, our journey as well, when we making these big decisions to say, are we going to do this? It was a joint conversation. It was, well, this is what we got ourselves into. And I remember distinctly when I finished some of my master's studies, and I still had the dissertation to go, my wife was the one that said, look, we sacrificed a lot. You better get this done, because it took me 3 years to get my dissertation done finally. And and it has to be aligned. Yeah, thank you for that. And it was obviously worth your while to make those sacrifices. And what's the trade-off there? Is it, if you say to people, go for it or don't go for it, how would you advise people?
I think to the trade-off is obviously to, you need to, I think the starting point, and back to that point, is to, have a vision, or you need to see yourself have, set yourself to say, you know what, I'm seeing myself, I'm and looking to work towards, uh, going into corporate. I mean, personally, you know, making a career change or that type of thing. So
Mm.
obviously try to see, and obviously try to set that objective, or that vision that you actually have as a family, as a and then obviously the trade off to that is then to say, you know what, this is the price to be
Mm.
paid,
Mm.
and I will have to unfortunately sacrifice certain things for the bigger picture,
Yes.
to work towards,
Yes.
and I think that is also quite vital, the trade-off. And I think that back to investing in yourself, it's many times you come across professionals, individuals that sits in things that that you need a company or a business or a individual to kickstart that investment,
Mm.
or do that. Um, One thing that we actually traded off in that sense is, so this studies, obviously, Stellenbosch University is it's not cheap, but it's worthwhile. But we had to make that trade-off to say, you know what, we're going to pay it from our pocket, and for the bigger picture. Uh, and if it means sometimes, to move from this standard of living to a different standard of living, that's the trade-off that you need to make to
Mm.
actually achieve the bigger picture, and the vision. And I think that is also another big important key in investing in yourself, and looking at the bigger picture. Um, yeah, the trade off importance of making that decision, conscious decision onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you. That's magical advice. And I'm actually
yeah,
reading a book to what you're saying at the moment. It's no use. You just have the vision. This is where we're gonna want to go as a family. These are the things that we're willing to sacrifice, and you don't put it in action. You don't drop
mm,
that standard of living. You actually don't, actually enroll. You have to action, and that's a lot of
mm.
what. Did you find that you spoke about the dedication and commitment, and I want to just come back to that as well, because it was hard work, getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, finishing an assignment. How would you motivate people saying, you know what, I just don't see that I can sacrifice that much? Was it worth that for you?
Absolutely. I think again, it was absolutely worth it, because obviously that actually creates opportunity for professional development and growth in your career. So that investment is absolutely, there is value in it. I personally, obviously there's lots of growth opportunity, and obviously seeing, that, to be honest, you sit and you think, do I want to be a lab manager forever? Or is it time for me to make that shift in it, and
Yeah.
to actually move into corporate, or move into that type of thing.
Yeah.
So that it's absolutely worthwhile.
Okay.
Personally, I believe that it's worthwhile, and I can personally see the fruit that it actually bears. It allowed me to understand the business better,
Yeah.
because you know what, to be very honest, and I think there's a lot of laboratory professionals that might be sitting and thinking, yo, but the lab is always, because of we're such an enabling service towards the overall, it's kind of like always in the backdrop.
Mm, not that important.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, yeah, it's very important when we need to release the results.
I'm talking from a miner's perspective. The miners and the processing plant, well, they're not that important, but they're not producing.
Exactly, exactly. And obviously this actually allowed me to see the business in a much more holistic view,
Yeah.
instead of being in a little silo, and just thinking of these mining engineers, and these geologists, they just want this again, and having this siloed mentality, it
Mm.
actually just completely broadened my thinking in seeing the overall, business value, and that type of thing. So, personally, from a professional perspective and a personal perspective, absolutely worthwhile to put in the effort and the time. Yeah, I can really tell someone that, that is the way to go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I've been very privileged to have seen you grow in your professional capacity, in your personal capacity, in your family. And that, does it stop personal development for you? Is it something, okay, well, I've now got my MDP or my MBA. Does it ever stop? How do you see that?
You know what, and again, you know what, it's so interesting because both me and my wife, we quite strong advocates of lifelong learners. So I recently changed a bit of on my career. I had a bit of a change in career, not really changing career, but actually a new skill that I just started teaching myself and actually moving towards.
Okay.
And that is data sciences in Python programming and these type of things.
Okay.
And actually trying to match the two, with laboratories, as well as how that can actually add value into the business, that type of thing. This new skill is actually something that we actually started venturing on, and I started teaching myself and teaching learning this new skill. So I'm both me and my wife, we very, strong advocates of lifelong learning, because the moment when something doesn't move, I'm a believer that it dies. Anything that stagnates dies.
Yes.
So the lifelong learning actually creates the opportunity to continuously moving and continuously enriching yourself and continuously investing in yourself so that you can invest in others. So currently I'm also now busy doing a bit of a course on business analytics and data sciences, just to enrich that skill and just to merge it and marry it with the MBA and the knowledge and that type of thing, into how can that skill add value into my career, as well as where's the world going, to try and have that and actually move into a different space. So yes, lifelong learning is absolutely core. You can't, anything that stagnates, die. So that's important.
You've got it, everybody. So Calvin says, if it stagnates, it's dying. Calvin, I enjoy this so much. I'm really having a lot of fun here, and it's amazing because this lifelong learning means you have an open mind always. It's not as if you've arrived once you've got that MBA. The MBA of 10 years ago means nothing in today's world, because data science as a career didn't exist 10 years ago. It's now one of the fastest growing careers, where professionals like yourself, BSc chemistry, or, a mechanical engineer, or, even a BCom honors person on finance, moves into data science, and they add value in a different way to businesses.
Yep. Data is the new oil.
Data is the new oil.
The new oil.
Yeah. Now it's a good time to maybe step over to, you've spoken a lot about investing in others, and I've seen firsthand and heard the good stories about how you have invested in your teams and building strong teams. You've mentioned that you took over a laboratory that was brand new, you still smell the paint, and you had to build a team and invest in that team. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so Christo, I mean, it's obviously to move into a different space, a different country, different way of doing things, a different culture, different, and to try and invest and actually acknowledge and try to have that shift in thinking was quite challenging. There's quite a number of quite good success stories, and all credit to the team. I always make the joke and says, with this team, I can take on Russia. But you know what? This you know, for example, when I joined the lab, you know, there was this mentality, and just I think that's one of the good stories that I always, you know, credit the team on, is we normally did a carbon analysis, and we would do, the lab would actually produce about 73 samples per month, you know, because at that point in time, and unfortunately, the lab or the plant and the processing plant actually required much more. But it, you know, the challenge was, you know, that thinking, and that only certain people has been trained, and only Koos or only Sarah can do this, and no one else. And you know, by just investing into the team, and giving them the confidence, and giving them the ability, and the confidence in this analytical technique, we changed it from producing 73 samples per month to about average per month we do about 2,100 samples
What?
per month, and
What?
without
That's
any
like
additional,
amazing. Sorry,
and that
I'm
was
interrupting.
absolutely without any,
No, I'm interrupting.
sorry.
Sorry.
And I mean, that was without any additional resources. No HR, same complement, HR complement, same instrument, same everything. And it was just to empower by changing the mindset that only, you know, it's only this activity is only, you know, it can only be done by a Christo, or it can
Yeah.
only be done by a Calvin. And saying, you know what, I can do it myself. And you know, moving it from a 5-day, it was always been done only on a five normal shift, the work day, to a 24/7 operation, 3-hour sample submission. And that's and then empowering those teams that's currently running those operations, to actually being able to do it and interpret the results, and understand the instrument, and that type of thing, made us, you know, as a team, to be able to move from 73 to 2,000, almost is about 2,400 samples per month. And yeah, that was one of the success stories, because of, you know, investing into people, seeing the value in people. I think the one important thing, and I love what John Maxwell says. I actually want to quote him. Success is when adding value to myself, but significance is when adding value to others. So it's great to add value to yourself, and that is the success in yourself. But it's such more significant, you know, when you impact and add value to others. And that was I think that was the power in this, you know, in that transition, or that for us to be able to achieve this you know, this great achievement, to say it that way.
Wow.
And now, I mean, we adding, because of that, you know, the processing plant obviously has got much more visibility, better process control. They can make better informed decisions. They can, you know, optimize the business, and actually take the business, yeah, obviously to higher heights. And so it's very important, I think, to continuously add value, and value people, in that, in achieving
Wow.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Couldn't have been easy. I mean, you've touched on so many things there. You're not a local. You come from another country. You're in this country, different culture, different people.
Yeah.
They're used to doing 83, let's call it, for around number 100 numbers of samples a month. You move that to beyond 2,000 with people that do not necessarily relate to you from a cultural and a country perspective. They buy into it. They are empowered. That's massive, Calvin. That's not just, doesn't happen by itself. There's so much. What was your learnings? I mean, what was the key things you've learned with this culture change, this new people, you've invested in them? How did you do it?
I think to start off with, you know, is I think the personally, is to acknowledge the difference in it. So the first starting point is to acknowledge, and then I think the main important thing is to get everyone to buy into the big picture. I've been talking a lot about the big picture. So, sorry, Christo.
Yeah. How do you do that? You've mentioned a few times, but getting them to buy into that big picture. Just take our listeners, because it's a theoretical conversation right now, unless we make it quite practical to people. How do you make them buy into that big picture? How did you go about that? If we can just pause there and then you continue, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, cool. I think that what I've personally have done is, so for the business to be successful, for the processing plant to be successful, they would obviously need certain parameters to be able to be successful. And there's those parameters that they need is enablers that we need to be able to give towards them.
I get you.
So if we enable them to be successful, they are successful, but we are also successful.
Okay.
So the the bigger picture, in the sense of, you know what, if we are not going to do this, and it's easy, it's very simple. And I mean, from labs, sometimes you're like, no, we're not going to do that. We are not going to do that. I know we're not capable of doing that and many times, because of the fact that we're not willing to see the overall big picture, to say that way, the value that my actions can actually contribute to the full value chain, enables then the change the thinking in the paradigm shift in your thinking. So you know what, we can actually do that, and if we do that, this is the reward.
Yes.
So obviously, and for example, and just to quickly, so we actually a business partner onto this international organization.
Okay.
So we actually run the laboratory for this mining giant, to say it that way.
Yeah.
So obviously, if they are successful, we are successful. And that was the big picture that I had to obviously start and let everyone understand that it's not just a nice to have. It's not something that these metallurgists are just, they don't have anything to do type of thing. But to really make them see, okay, this is why I do it. Because I believe, if people see the vision, if the people sees the overall objective, that's how people buy into it, and then say, you know what, I'm willing to get onto this bus and take it forward. So I think that was the big thing, and how we actually did it. Obviously, the difference in culture, different in way of doing things, that obviously would always be, not always, but there's a bit of, that you need to understand that this is the way, but the team also needs to understand, but this is what we need to do. So I think that's the important thing, to actually have that make everyone see the value in why we do it.
Okay.
That's it.
And I've interrupted you there. There's a lot, you in a new country, you're doing this culture shift in the laboratory as the manager, you getting people to step up. Anything else that you did that was part of the success story? I know there's a lot. It's who Calvin is. It's how he lives his values every day. But yeah, please help us, understand how this success came about.
It's by empowering. I think the very important thing is empowering. Empowering people. Let people realize their value.
Yes.
So obviously empowering, so giving them the needed skill, giving them the needed knowledge, giving them the needed, ability to be able to do it. So we're empowering them, and then alongside with that is valuing them. Because I'm a strong believer. I believe that no one comes to work, just for the sake of just, you get the in the, but people, if people are valued, and people are valued for who they are,
Mhm.
and the value they have in it, they are so much more willing and so much more a team player. Uh, now I did a very interesting, Christo. They say with Legos, and it's quite interesting if people can go and have a look. The amount of different combinations. The more the Lego blocks you add, the more the different um, combinations you can actually make. And that's why must John C. Maxwell says that one is too small, is too insignificant to make a difference.
Exactly.
And that, so more than one, it's I always say it's never my success, it's our success as a team. And as I say, so the two things is what I would say is empowering and
Mm.
valuing people, and intentionally do certain things. So many times it's a bit difficult, and this I've learned from Christo Horn himself. Intentionally, as a mentor towards myself. Yeah, listeners, this is also my mentor. And but also to continuously, intentionally do certain things, to make people realize that you are important. You are important. But that intentional action, to say it that way. So yeah.
Wow. It always fascinates me that great leaders like yourself are so humble in the success stories, and they give that recognition always back to their teams. And so I don't think people, well, not, maybe just withdraw my comments there. A lot of us, we don't always understand that portion of just being humble and not taking it on yourself. But as you say, we don't achieve these phenomenal results by
Mm,
ourselves. They are not
mm.
sustainable. They short last, and people will exit at one or other time, and you've never given them the tools to take it to the next level for themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
conscious of time, and Calvin, you're a busy man. You
Nah.
lots of things happening. I'm just impressed by how much you've taken on and seen you grown over the years, and just keep on growing and taking on new things. Is that something? So you say you and your wife are lifelong learners, and you prescribe to that lifestyle.
Mm,
How do we get that energy? You've obviously influenced people as well through your own actions, but is it something that you can help people to discover and figure it out for themselves, that there's so much joy in keep on pushing the limits, keep on. I spoke to one of our previous guests on the show, was just being comfortable in an uncomfortable environment, and
mm.
just pushing the limits. And she was saying that the if you saying the same thing about being stagnant. She said, if you're not moving for 3 months, you're in trouble. You should be moving. You should be pushing. How do
Yeah.
we get people to? How do we do that buy-in for them, that they can say, hey, this is the 10% of really, really successful people in the world. They do this. That's how they do it. They are constantly pushing their boundaries of comfort into being uncomfortable. Are there
Mm.
tips that you can give us to say, you know what, just do these few things, and you will start reaping the benefits? I know it's a difficult one. It's a curveball. We didn't prep this.
Yeah, it is. But I would say, you know what, Christo, it's self-realization, I think, to start off. That self-awareness, that what, if I am not, I'm not going to progress and be successful if I don't, move, if I don't get that, get that moving, constant learning. Because I mean, to be honest, and this was the main driver for me personally. So I went and looked back at lots of, predecessors as lab managers and so forth, professionals in that space, and very few, to say that way, has ever made a career switch, to say, and moved into a higher space of success, to say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what, many times, and I always say, and please, listeners and then viewers, apology, but they say lab managers die lab managers. They've got this thing that, what, those guys are the guys that come in and then they wait for 60 or 65 to retire and then go buy a house in Blouberg and Blouberg and relax there in Cape Town. So it's a conscious thing, that decision that you need to make. You know what, is this where I want to be? Am I satisfied with this position of living where I am? Or is there more in life? Is there more? And I think once you've answered that question, once you've answered the question of, and back to you, Christo, we once had a conversation and you made the comment, and you actually made me think that specific day. I think it's a couple of years back. But you said, you know what? You need to make the decision if you want to be a specialist or a generalist. Now, many times, you specialize, or you get into a space, for example, as a career, and you just remain in that space. You a mining engineer, and you just never developed yourself, never invested in yourself. And so because of that action, you just remained a mining engineer. But, using yourself as an example, investing in yourself made you took you from, your career path until the success that you've achieved, and so many other professionals and people. So I think the important thing is that self-realization and seeing yourself. Where do you see yourself? And if you don't put that in, unfortunately, that's where your success will end. Yeah. So
thank you. That's profound.
Yeah. I think just quick one. Sorry,
yes,
Christo, just to interrupt you. I think the one thing, and this is something quite interesting. If you look at the change in generations, the change from the 1990s, type of people, to the millennials, to the Gen Zs of today. The now generation actually makes much more quicker changes in career than our predecessors and those type of their generation, to say it that way. And it's because of the fact that they constantly want to challenge themselves and constantly move towards greater heights, and constantly just want to get better and more successful and more successful and more successful. So I think the generation that we're in currently, the millennials and Gen Zs, they currently into that space where they just constantly want to new, better, more, and that shift in thinking, or that change in it, I think is very value adding towards the overall business and the success of humanity, to say it that way.
Amazing. I was listening to a podcast the other day of leveraging the different generations, and in every generation, there's so much value in how they have developed that culture of how they do things. And it's not, you can't discount the strength of that generation, and then the different generation, and then the different one, and the different one.
Yep.
And we will have this conversation throughout humanity over the next 1,000 years, if that's how long we're going to be on this planet for. But you've touched on just leveraging the strength of those generations. Excuse me. So thank you for that, Calvin. Anything that Yeah, so we have had a prep session and I threw a couple of curveballs at you today. Anything else that you want to leave our listeners with? Anything else that's important for you to share with a younger Calvin, with a younger Christo, with whoever, a younger Edith?
Oh, I think to the one thing, and this is something actually quite profound. Is when you realize that you need to grow to a stage where you hold the ladder for others to be successful. So by developing and investing in yourself, you indirectly actually influence and actually invest into others. And then by that, you try to then enable them to actually get to greater heights. And you know what, Christo, what I love about this podcast and this the mining coach is it creates a platform to hold that ladder where a younger version of Christo is enabled to get to greater heights than us, to get to greater heights than what Christo has ever achieved. And that's, I think that is the power in this podcast, and I think the big thing that I would leave listeners and viewers is that you need to invest in yourself to be able to add value to others. You need to be able to put it in yourself and then make work of that, actually manifest what your learnings, and then teach it on to the next Christo, the next Calvin, the next CEO, the next guy, and pass the baton. I actually like what John C. Maxwell recently said. He said, you need to work yourself out of your own position. You need to coach and need to invest into your next team so that you can work yourself out of your own position, so that you actually can create the next level for your growth. And the growth of your subordinate or someone else. So that's a final comment from my side.
Well, there you go, everybody. This is Calvin Cloete, our guest for today. Amazing dad, a father, career coach at this stage seems to be. Calvin, thanks for adding value to the mining community internationally throughout. Thank you to our viewers for listening and watching. And please share this with those that you know that need to listen to this. And you know where to find us at www.theminingcoach.com. Calvin, have an awesome day in regards to your family, and you enjoy your mining and your testing in the laboratory and your studies, by the way. All the best with that.
Thank you very much, Christo. Keep well. Greetings to everyone there. Cheers.
Thanks. There we go. We're back to have a quick recap about what I've learned from Calvin today. So, learned a lot, but I'm just going to highlight 3 top things that just stand out for me for today. So, number 1, invest in yourself, because something that stagnates is busy dying. Number 2, he quoted John Maxwell in saying, hold the ladder for somebody else to reach higher heights than you did. And the third thing, the final thing that just absolutely stands out for me today was, you're not successful if you don't empower others and work yourself out of a job. How's that for you? Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your day. Happy mining. Enjoy breaking rocks. Enjoy recovering the metal or the minerals, and enjoy your life. Bye-bye.